Well, if you're online with us, let us know who's watching. Leave us a comment. Welcome to the Facebook Live. My name is Doug Collins, and I'm here with Charmaine, and I'm excited. So I've been looking forward to this one. Charmaine's got a great story. First of all, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Doug Collins. I wrote the book, Home Business Tax Write-Offs. And I'm excited really because this was a sort of a labor of love over the pandemic for me. And now that it's out and it's getting into people's hands and I'm hearing the stories and the journeys that people are going on, I really want to share these stories in this group. So I'm excited to have Charmaine here for the first time and to share her story. So Charmaine, why don't we start off with you introducing yourself? Where are you from? What do you do for work? What do you do in your home business? And then kind of go into, you and I didn't know each other a couple of months ago. So how did you find the book? Why did you buy it? What prompted you to do it? So, tell us a little bit about
that. So I am a teacher with the public school system. I work with the elementary students, and I've always been kind of a more entrepreneurial type person. Always like looking to do different things, but I've done a lot of side businesses, as I'm sure many people have before. I ended up getting sick is what happened, and spurred on my I couldn't work being a teacher full time, so I decided that I was needed something that I could work from home. With my health, I needed something that I could do from my bed. So I needed to be able to have access to the online platforms. And anyway, so I decided to become a travel agent as well. So it was something I could do from home. You talk to people online. So it was a good little home business that I could do both. And now that we've been it's been quite a few years now that I've been doing that, I've been able to go back to teaching full time. So I have that income now against my travel business. But once I got into doing my business of my travel business, I didn't really know how to do my taxes. I didn't know how to organize it. I knew if you had a home business, you could write off things, but there was lots of, I just basically threw receipts or papers in a box and said, I'll deal with that later. It won't be that much to deal with. And we were 3 years into it, still didn't have time, didn't know what I was doing. And so COVID kind of spurred me of like, okay, I've got this extra time while I'm at home to be able to be like, okay, need to start getting this organized. I can't go on any more years. And I went looking online, and over the course of those 3 years, I was kind of like, oh, what do you do for your business or things? And everyone was like, oh, I hire a bookkeeper, and then I hire an accountant, and then I pay someone to do my taxes. And I was just like, okay, but a lot of people that I had looked into, their businesses were a lot bigger, or they did it as their full-time job, and was like, well, I'm only a small business. I really don't have a lot of money to pay these people, because like what I would pay someone to do all that stuff, I felt like that's given away any of my profit or my money making or my savings. So I was scrolling through Facebook one day and happened to come across a post that a fellow teacher had posted, which is who knew Doug. And anyway, I was like, oh, this looks like an interesting book. This is exactly me. I'm a home-based business. It was doing stuff with taxes. And I joined your group that we're actually broadcasting live from, and did a little bit more reading just through comments and posts. And I was like, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And then I came across, oh, he's got a course too. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I could just take this and be able to do it all myself. So anyway, I bought the book, and it arrived very quickly. So I read that. It was a pretty easy read. And I was like, well, these are a lot of things I'm already doing, but I was like, this still doesn't help me to organize my bag of receipts I've got for each year. So then I just went, then I decided, you know what, I might as well just pay for this course, do it myself. then I'll know how to do it. I can organize all these years. And we were still in COVID at that time. And I was like, I just should do this and get this done. I know initially we had a goal of me getting it done before school started in September. That didn't happen, but you know, I'm still working through it. I always loved all the checking in emails, which were nice little reminders to be like, oh, I should get back to that. So it was working well. But yeah, so anyway, and then yeah, you've always been there to answer any of the questions that I've had. But yeah, it's definitely been interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else.
Give us a little context here. Like, when did you start your travel business? And when you learned about this book, like you kind of had a big number of a mountain to go through, right? Like, how many years were you?
So I had started doing my travel business in 2017 and hadn't done anything. So I had 2017 to go through, 2018, 2019, and now we're almost to the end of 2020. So I've got a few years to catch up on. My business has also changed some. The first company that I went with for my travel business wasn't exactly paying me my income that I was supposed to be earning, and I needed to get rid of that. So I joined another company, and they hire you as an employee instead of being your own independent contractor. So I was like, oh, this will be great. They take off all the income tax and they give me CPP. I can collect EI if I get laid off, you know. Thought it was a great idea at that time. However, now I have learned that that might not have been the best choice for me.
Okay, but we're working through that one, right? So
we are, yeah, we are.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about, you know, you made a decision, you bought the book, you got the book, you read the book. You know, there's lots of people that buy books and never read them, read books and never do anything, and then there's those who buy the book and, you know, take it and run with it and do that, you know, that marathon run, which you've done it for 1 year and got, you know, a nice return on your investment. I like to say it's pulling money from the past. It's sitting there waiting for you. You just needed the tools and the information to go get it. So tell us a little bit about the decision you made as far as, you know, to take the course and give the viewers a little bit of an idea what that experience was as we started to work together. You said that, you know, I was always there and following up, and I've, you know, you would email me questions and I would get back to you and we worked. So let's talk a little bit about that experience and, you know, as a way to that helped you get, you know, ultimately get that $3,200 product, right?
So each of the courses, but like each of the modules in the course kind of walked me through each step of what I was kind of doing. And sometimes I would go back to the book and even reference some of the things, because you reference things from the book into the course. So I was kind of like looking at both of them. And as I was doing it, so basically I got my binder, I printed off all those sheets that you had for the handouts, and kind of created my own binder, and then was just making notes as I was going along. So each section that I did, I was actually going back through my receipts to like input those into those sections. So as you know, I emailed you to like check to make sure about your house and how you're able to claim that certain portion of your house, and like, was this my calculation correct? And based off the example that you had provided in the course. So, you know, and you were always very quick to respond, sometimes like too quick. I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for that yet. Had that question. And so, yeah, you know, you were really good in that aspect. So yeah, so I kind of like went through the home stuff. Then I went through the car stuff. You know, you even gave me tips on how to find some of that extra stuff that I didn't have printed off, that I didn't know was actually stuff that I could claim, right? Yeah. So, you know, as you said, like you kind of need to create that, your intent for your business and stuff like that. So I, you know, went back. I was somebody who used a digital calendar. I put stuff into my phone. So I went back to my Google Calendar and I printed off 2017, 2018, 2019, and I'll print off 2020. And I was going through to be like, oh, I traveled here, I did this. So I was able to kind of recreate, you log for my car, because I didn't know how you were able to claim your car. And I was like, I really don't use my car all that much for business because everything was home. But, you'd said every time you make a trip to go to some of the trade shows or go and get certain things or meet certain people, you can claim that. And it was like, well, I have these meetings all in my book, so I might as well make a log, and created a log from that. So, that was a big help. It took time. Basically, it all takes time, and it's all for how much effort you want to put into it is what you'll get back.
So for you, from the time you sort of finished the course and we sort of had that initial discovery call or kind of get you warmed up and get you moving, how many hours do you think it took you to pull 2017 together to the point where you could go and say, okay, I'm ready to file my taxes?
It was quite a few weekends, but I will say that wasn't always just spent doing 2017, because as I was gathering my 2017, it was like, oh, then I'm able to do my 2018, 2019, so I did pull together some of that. In reality, it really didn't take me as long as what I thought it would. I know it might seem long, but I wasn't always working on it as much as you might think. I guess I really didn't think about how many hours it took me. But I mean, as my confidence kind of grew with what was acceptable and what, because that was my big thing. I was so worried that, I hadn't filed in 2017. I hadn't filed in 2018, 2019. I was like, the government's going to be coming and auditing me. And so like when I was doing this, I was also trying to make sure that I had really good records and had all that proof, like whatever I was putting in the spreadsheets that you provided, it was stuff that I could be like, if they do come back to audit me, which I hope they don't, but that at least I can say, well, here's my folder, and, kind of they can figure it out from there. I mean, I think it was April, May. I forget when I had even like got the book from you, and then
it wouldn't have been until late August, I think. You were one of the first people to purchase it.
Okay.
It didn't come out until I think late August. So.
Oh, okay. I thought I had it before that, but maybe not. Anyway, so then it was, not as long as I thought. I know I had started working on some things. I had found a free spreadsheet through Google Sheets and was like filling it in and entering stuff. And I still didn't know what I had, because remember I had sent you that initial spreadsheet, and I was still like, I don't know what to do with this. So, and it was just your spreadsheet was able to help organize what I had kind of already started and build upon that. So it was good that I didn't have to start all over at the very beginning, at least.
So, Charmaine, if there was somebody watching this and said, if they're sitting there watching it going like, I'm her, this is where I sit right now, whether they filed their taxes, did it with or without their business, and they're sitting there going like, they're resonating with their story, what advice would you give them as far as saying, hey, start with the book? What would you say to them about the course specifically and the opportunity sort of to work with me to help them through that process? And what advice would you give them? Like, what would you say?
I would say that you can do it. You don't need to be paying an accountant or a bookkeeper for your you don't need to pay, like, to me, for the amount of money that you would have to pay someone for your bookkeeper or your accountant, you can just do it yourself, because now I know what I can claim. And like with your book and being able to even talk with you to clarify things made it that much easier to walk me through to be able to do it myself, because giving it to a bookkeeper, they're just going to take your receipts that you provide, organize them, and then, either if they're somebody who does your taxes, then they're just going to input all that information. But if you're missing some of those key things where I was able to ask you some of the things like, well, I've got this, because, all the businesses are a little bit different for home businesses. So everyone has their own different aspect of, different kind of stuff that they would deal with, then, I just thought it was, I don't know, maybe I'm just a go-getter to go do that, but I think other people should be able to do it. I mean, even when I went to go and file my stuff I used TurboTax for it. You had given a recommendation for a couple. I had just happened to go with TurboTax for this one. And basically I was able to take our spreadsheet, I printed it off. It was asking the questions as we were going through, and it was like, okay, this is on my sheet. Okay, I've input this number. Okay, that's on my sheet, and input this number, checking them off as I go to make sure they all got put into the system. And then, yeah, then it was just like, okay, you're going to get this much. And, you know, on that sheet for the summary of what it said for your business, of what you were, you know, getting for your revenue and all the different things, like they might have been like maybe $20, $30 off from what some of the stuff, but it was exactly what was there. So I was like, well, do I need to contact Doug to like submit this? And so I just submitted it because I was like, I don't think there was going to be too much more different than what it was. So I was just, I might as well just submit this and get this money back and then start working on, you know, 2018 and 2019 going through that. So yeah, I just felt like it was, I don't know, it was just something easy I guess easy in the sense of I knew that there was somebody there to support me, to back me up of what decisions I was making, where before when I was on my own, I was like, oh, I don't know. And I don't know who to contact. And yes, I could phone the CRA and I printed off all the tax books that are online, but there's always so many if, ands, buts that.
And they're not going to go that granular in your business for you, right? So they're staying at a high level. But it's interesting, like, you know, the course, you know, is Home Business Tax Secrets. The subtitle on my book talks about the secret. And I like to say it's a secret when it's really not a secret, right? I mean, you just need to figure it out. And I think a lot of tax preparers and people, they make it seem like it's complicated. But kind of once you get the grasp on it, you know, my whole goal with helping people through this with the course is to help them, empower them to be self-sufficient like you. Like you're the ultimate story. You took it from not knowing anything to going on TurboTax and filing your own income tax, right? So, you know, when you're waiting for your final notice, you know, so it'll be interesting to see sort of how that goes. But, you know, where that refund comes from is the income tax that was withdrawn from your income, your teacher's income in 2017. The government already has your money. They've been holding it for 3 years. So now you're filing it, your income tax. You could have filed your income tax without the home business. Revenue Canada, they already have your money. So they just say, okay, that's fine. But now you're saying, hey, I have a home business and I have some deductions here. And those deductions were equivalent of $3,200 and some dollars to say, hey, I want some of that money back from what they withdrew off my income in 2017.
Yeah, and to be honest, like you saying that, I was getting to the point of just saying, well, you know, I really didn't make that much money with my business. It's not going to make that much of difference on my income tax. I should just file it without it. Like I was getting to that point because I had done my initial, like just your basic, putting it into one of the tax things and being like, okay, I don't owe the government anything. I'm safe for right now. I don't like, you know, I'll be happy with my couple hundred. And I was getting to the point of, okay, I'll just deal with my couple hundred and, you know, worry about stuff when it's 2018, 2019. But I mean, I'm glad I didn't now because I mean, I ended up instead of a couple hundred, you know, I got over $3,000 back.
Yeah.
So,
and even if you did file it, let's say in 2017, and you're learning this now, and you had a business, and you had all the records, and you did everything, you could actually file an amendment and go back and reach in and say, hey, you know, Mr. Taxman, I left out some things, and they'll review it and make a decision. They may come back with questions a little more detailed than probably what you would provide on TurboTax.
Right.
But you know, I've had, and I'm going to have people coming up on this interview series who have actually done amendments in the past and gotten money back. So, you know, so it's never too late. So if anybody's watching this saying, hey, you know, I missed a few years or whatever, you can still do it. You got to get the bookkeeping, you got to get your record keeping solid, you know, which is what what we're learning here, right? So anyways, everybody wants to check out the course, it's homebusinesstaxsecrets.com. And if anybody's watching here live, you got any questions here for us, please drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know who's watching. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked it that you were even, not that we had to meet face to face and COVID was happening, but I mean, I'm located just in Halifax, actually in Timberley, and I mean, you're in Halifax as well, so it's, you know, we could have met face to face for the help, but I mean, we were doing great, just a few phone calls and the emails. So
yeah, and we've never met in person.
No.
Right. So, you know,
it's the first time kind of seeing each other.
Yeah. And we live in a virtual world now. I mean, you and I have been, probably most of our communication was on the phone and by email back and forth.
Yep.
And, you know, analyzing and giving you answers and different questions and stuff like that. So
yeah, I would just send you my spreadsheets and you would just send back, well, this, or this looks like this, or, you know, because I would have never known how to figure out like the cars. And I was like, because I was to the point of I would just leave that out and leave that off of my income tax. Well, no, I just won't claim that part, right? But then once we got into it, I realized that claiming your car was kind of a bigger part of that than what I actually thought, right? And same with the host was a bigger part than what I thought. Like I just mostly thought it was only my like day-to-day business activities, you know, buying these papers and the pens and, you know, the gifts for clients and just stuff that was directly to it. But there were other things, all the traveling that I did to get to trade shows, that to go and advertise my business. And
absolutely. All right. So I don't know. Any final comments? We're not really getting any questions here, but any other? I'm seeing some people joining the group here. I'm trying to let people in as they come. Last minute frenzy, right?
They're like, oh no, I'm missing it. I mean, I even had some friends that were like, oh, I need to like get on that. Can I watch that later? And you know, I just looking through my notes to see if there was anything else I didn't really say, but I think I pretty much touched on everything. And I mean, I'm more than happy to talk to people, you know, who have questions or they're not quite sure if this is the right thing for them. I mean, at that time, I really wasn't sure either. I was like, is this another one of the online courses? I mean, because I have signed up for some and I will admit I have not finished them. Yours will be the first one I have finished. As you said, people buy this stuff and they don't necessarily use it with the book. Because I got the book in the mail and I remember thinking, oh, am I going to have time to read this? Because I had been doing a lot of audiobooks. So it's like listening on the go. But then as I started reading it, I was like, I kind of was like whipping through the pages when I was reading it. And I was like, okay, I'll flag this because I'll need that to come back to that later. And then mostly, you know, I had questions from reading the book, but then once I started doing the course, then some of those were answered. And then any other questions, I was just posting them on either the course or I'd drop you an email. You seem to be very like open for help. So I was going to take you for your help. I figured if I was going to pay $300, you know, if I was going to pay some money to do a course and stuff and learn how to do this. And I was ready to like, pay an accountant or find a bookkeeper to do this stuff for me. So I just looked at it as, hey, I might as well ask someone who's going to give me that one-on-one support while doing it.
You would have paid probably $200 or $300 to have somebody file your taxes. You would have paid somebody $100, $150, but I don't know what they charge for questions back and forth, you know what I mean? So, and it would have taken time. And so.
No, I found it was a really good investment. That's why That's why I did it from that business perspective, because I'm like, I mean, currently the travel business right now, as we know, is kind of like frozen, especially here with our Atlantic bubble, because no one's able to travel because they can't afford to take the 2 weeks when they come back from traveling. So, you know, it's kind of on hold for me booking a lot of things. So I'm waiting for that to open up. And, you know, if the travel business doesn't work out, I will still always have another business. I mean, I have signed up. I've been with Norwex. I've been with Beachbody. I've been with, you know, there's 31. I mean, there's so many companies out there. And I mean, I've been enrolled in Monet as well. So Monet is another one that, you know, I've done stuff with. It's, you know, quite popular, like the hair products and stuff like that. And they're going to be launching their own wellness line. So, you know, I've been thinking this has been kind of my thinking year, you know, especially where we had discovered when I did my 2018 and 2019, I was an employee of a travel agency, which I found out is not as lucrative to get for as much money back. So it's kind of like figuring out, you know, how to move forward. And this will help me with 2021 in knowing what to do. And I mean, I really kind of kicked myself of saying, like, I wish I would have found some of this sooner. Not that you had this out sooner, so I wouldn't have found it. But you know, if I would have known some of this stuff sooner, then I would have been able to, you know, make a decision on my business so that it was more effective for myself as a business person, entrepreneur, to be able to, you know, move forward with a business that's, you know, going to pay me some stuff back at the end of the year.
Well, you know, you're looking at your business from more of a holistic standpoint, right? So instead of saying, if I go from this company to this company, and you're only really looking at the income, right? If I do a travel booking, I make X. If I do it here, I make X. When you look at it more now with the information and the education you have, you're looking at it saying, if I have a home business and I go to become an employee, I can't get as many tax deductions. So, you know, where does the income come in, but where does also the write-offs come in? And how does that net, you know, you're looking at your business. So again, for those who don't know me, I'm not an accountant, and I never said I was. I do taxes as a volunteer in the city of Halifax. So done lots of income tax returns. I don't do that as a service as part of my course, but I coach you like I did with Charmaine to the point where I think you can file your own taxes. So Charmaine's kind of shared that. I believe anybody can do this. And
I think they can too.
Yeah. And I can support anybody to getting it to the finish line. You know, my course, it's a one-time fee. I'm not charging by the hour. You know, my goal is to help more people get that result. So, you know, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been really immersing myself in tax write-offs and learning this stuff since, you know, probably 10, 11, 12 years now. So again, I wrote this book just a few months ago, and I'm excited to get it out there. And so it's, if you don't have a copy, you can go to dougcollinsonline.com and get a copy off my website. So we have a question here. Looks like we got a couple. Somebody, we got Pam. Let's see here.
Hi, Pam.
Yeah, love that book. Simple language, not technical, easy to follow. Right on. Thanks, Pam. We're going to get you on a show. You got a great story too. So we're going to talk about getting you on here.
And Pam, you're right. It did only take one day to read that book. Yeah, it was a good, easy read.
So we got a question here. I'm not sure who it is, but what's your best tip for record keeping? This is where I fail miserably. What would you say about, again, let's assume that this person is where you were 2 months ago or a month ago. What would be your best tip, knowing what you know now and what you've done and where you're going with your business?
You know, knowing now, like, to me, my biggest problem was knowing what fit under what category. So on your income tax, it's in different categories, and I wasn't really sure, did this fit under this category? Did it fit under, like, there were some that were kind of like, which spot do they fit in? And that was another great thing that was kind of in your course. You had listed all the different categories and then kind of like broke it down of which one belonged in what section. And still, any of the ones, I know I still had a few questions I had asked you, just because, again, different businesses have that different aspect, and kind of figured it out. But basically the spreadsheet and online, I know not everybody is you know, tech savvy for knowing some of that stuff. But I mean, you just had the spreadsheet, and it was just kind of like input that. I know I had kind of my other spreadsheet that I really liked was it was just the transactions. Like it just automatically put it in some of those different sections. But I had taken that initial free spreadsheet that I had found and then redid it with all your labels that you had provided. So then it made it easier. And that's, to me, that's what made it easy for me was I could just take, but I mean, I was trying to do a whole year's taxes, where now I think once I get things organized, then I can do it as you suggest, like do it once a month. Just take your stuff from the end of the month, input it, you print off your sheet, and you've got that month all done. Where I was trying to do a year, so I was inputting everything into one thing. So
at the end of the month, it's 10 or 15 minutes. You know, I don't know how many receipts you have in your business, but it's just, and then so it become, once you get ahead of it, it's pretty simple. So
yeah.
The other side of the record keeping that I would put in there is more around tracking your business activities.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm big on keeping notebooks. I buy these notebooks at the dollar store. They're $2, or they keep putting the price up, but keep track of what you do in your business. So and because you need to, especially if you get audited and the government says, well, show me your intent to make a profit. Mm-hmm. Show me what you did. And you want to be able to keep track of all that stuff. So your calendar, there's a lot of things beyond sort of the spreadsheet, the financial side. There's other things that you put in there that support that, right? So you do your gas receipt to all that kind of stuff. But if you claim business mileage, where did you go? Right. So what were all those trips that you took and all that kind of stuff?
So my online calendar was my biggest thing, because I always put it in there, because I always I'm quite busy. So I go from one place to another place to another place. So I'm always putting in the addresses in my online calendar. So then once I'm leaving, one location, whether it's from school or an appointment or from my house, I've got my phone telling me it's going to take you this many minutes to get there. So then I already had the addresses. And usually when I wrote in my calendar, I was saying who it was with or what the business was, which is what you need to do to prove that you're, doing your job. So to me, keeping that online record, but I mean, I know some people are the pencil paper, right? So as you said, that scribbler, but I liked another thing you had suggested with that scribbler, you can go back and from a business perspective, look back at who you had actually talked with. What did you talk about? Right. And then follow back up with them. Yeah,
it's great for that. So, all right. So
multi-purpose things, right?
Yeah.
You got to make things easy.
I think that's it. I think that's it for the questions. We'll kind of wrap it up here now, but do you have any last parting comments, any suggestions for anybody that might be sitting here on the fence?
I would say take the leap and do it. If you've been waiting as long as I have, I regret waiting as long as I did, knowing what I know now. Knowing that it's not as scary as what you might think it is, and that you can learn the stuff to be able to do it on your own. And I mean, my confidence grew each time, after we had talked with each other, then I felt a little bit more confident. My, stopping was the car thing, but, for me saying, oh, I won't bother including it, you were giving lots of tips on how to be able to do that. So I think even if people haven't filed their stuff or, their taxes or done up their business stuff in the last few years, I would go back and look at that stuff, because I mean, we do stuff so much digitally now. I mean, go back and look in you even said your Facebook posts, look at your things. What were you doing? Because obviously you're advertising where you're going and what you're doing. And that can help you. So to me, it's never too late. and it's not as scary as what you might think it is.
Yeah, it's true in the Facebook post, because in the book, I talked the story about how I fought the tax man. It was over a year. I went back at them 3 times. And the third time I sent them a box. I have a copy of it here. But I actually printed off Facebook posts, time and place, plane tickets, and all. I justified the whole thing, and I ended up winning. And that's what it takes. It takes you to have a record. That's record keeping, and you got to be solid on it. And this is not about cheating the system. It's just justifying what you're doing and claiming what's rightfully yours. So $3,000 from 2017 is rightfully yours.
Yes.
And you're just reaching into the past and grabbing it. 2018, you're going to reach in the past and grab it. 2019, you're going to grab it. And this year, you're going to go after it, right? So it adds up, and it's cash in your bank, right? So it's pretty exciting. So I get excited when I see people get these results, and I'm looking forward to doing some more of these interviews, and I hope it inspires some people to take some action. And if you got any questions, leave them in the comment section here. Charmaine and I will keep an eye on it. And if you have anything you want to talk to me about personally or your situation, shoot me a private message. I'm always open to having a chat. And if you know anybody that needs to hear this story, he needs to see this video, invite him to the group. The video is going to stay in here. We're building a community of readers, of home business people, and we all want to support each other. So I guess that'll be it for tonight. Thanks, Charmaine.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you, everybody.